All right, good morning, everyone. Hope everyone had a good holiday week and are happy and healthy and safe and got everything they wanted for the holiday season if you celebrate that holiday season. So I thought today I would do a something along the lines of what they call a conversion video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an adventure from any old system, in this case, old school essentials, and I'm going to convert it over to my system, Swords and Stones, using my basics for how to fill in the dungeon rooms, monster stats, the maps that they use for the adventure, etc. And towards the end of this vid, we'll write up some characters and go from there and see how we do. Okay, so to start with, I made a few quick notes. So I'll just zoom in on that real quick here if I can. So basically, I start with, excuse me, the adventure that I chose, which is the Sunbathers. And this is from the Old School Essentials Adventure Anthology by Brad Kerr, Giuseppe Rotondo, Glenn Seal, D.M. Wilson, and Sarah Brunt. So this adventure here is by Brad Kerr, the Sunbathers. So what I will do basically is take that adventure idea, like we all do, borrow that, convert it to my game, give it a different name, of course, and see how we do as far as turning it into a Swords and Stones style of a short adventure, one shot, whatever you want to call it. So as far as the title is concerned, I'm going to call it the Sunburnt Isle. The basic plot that we're going to lay out here, or basic storyline: why are the characters here, who are they facing, and what is the objective. Then we'll go through the conversions, how we convert using the maps. In this adventure, there's only 3 main areas. We have the North Beach, we have the main beach, and we have the Golden Asepian, which is basically the temple. I don't know how to pronounce that word properly, so bear with me. And there are some other options on here. We have the tunnel to Area 11 in the temple. We have ruins. We have the olive grove as far as main areas. And then we got open areas around the side. But this is all cliffy, so obviously the characters would be able to get up on those areas without accessing it from either of the beaches and go from there. So as far as the optional areas like the ruins, the tunnel, and the olive grove, those will be areas that we will generate random encounters, or I'll just throw in random encounters. But we'll come up with an overall theme to this to begin with. And then as far as the dungeon, quote unquote, so you have the temple grounds, and the temple itself is just one large building. It has a crypt area, and it has several rooms to go through, and here's the map here. So again, we'll just go through that, and we will walk through the encounters and convert them over into what I would call a Swords and Stones style encounter, and go from there. As far as monster stats, my game doesn't really use stats for monsters. We use a level and difficulty challenge. You can, if you'd like, go stat versus stat as far as my system is concerned. So if we were to do that, then monsters would be basically strength, dexterity, and constitution. Okay, so and that's basically for combat. Some of the creatures on Ambien, such as the Arafu, they also have a magical ability. So you could throw in an intelligence stat in there if you want, or a wisdom stat, or just use it as a combat option, whereas you don't really need anything other than the strength, intelligence, and constitution, and dexterity. So that's really up to you as to how you want to play that. Myself, I just prefer to go with the levels and the DC difficulty challenges. So basically what it comes down to, and I talked about this briefly before in another video with regards to game balance. So if you have a group of characters, and in this game I'm going to have 3 characters, and they're all different levels. So when they encounter monsters, each of the monsters, when it's facing each of the player characters, will be the same level. So that way they have, for instance, a level 1 character, a level 1 monster. So the DC for the level 1 character would be 11. The DC for the level 1 monster would be 13. It's always 2 higher to make it a little more difficult for the monster to actually completely kill off the characters too quickly. And that's pretty much it as far as game balance is concerned. Hit points and everything else, that kind of just falls into place as per the guide. So if you had a 5th level character, then the monsters that they face will be 5th level. Now, during combat, let's say the 1st level characters defeat theirs and the 5th level guy's still going at his, then those 1st level characters can join into that combat. And it's up to the game host at that point to find a middle ground. But basically, they're just fighting it at that 5th level DC. So if they were fighting one-on-one, that would be a major challenge, and they probably wouldn't survive. But because there's going to be more than one character, then most likely they would be able to. They'd be helping out by flanking and that sort of thing. So basically, we go through this and we go through the NPC monsters and check out the stat, convert them to Swords and Stone style. If you want to change the type of monsters, you can. In here, we don't really need to, other than, it comes up, it says patients. It has different names. So it's patients, you have physicians, purified ones, nannies. Nannies, for instance, these are actually harpies. So what I would do basically is I could leave that as a harpy, or I could convert that and say that it's an Erifu or elf in our game that has been experimented on, given wings, and is now a demonic-liking type of a creature. These purified ones are humans that have been modified or cured, as they say, for this adventure. So those can just be a basic monster stat, or just a basic level monster, and the only combat options they have are flailing, and so they run into you and crash into you and flail around. So it's basically unarmed combat. So that's pretty simple to convert over. Then you have lions. You have an oracle, which could be a high level Erifu, which in this game, that's kind of the way that I'm going to go. I'm going to convert these to this being a cult of Erifu that broke off from the main indigenous culture, and they've been experimenting, and they've really got themselves twisted and demented, and now they send out these winged versions of themselves, or the harpies in this adventure, to go out and find the humans that seem to be popping up into their world here and there, bring them back here, experiment on them to apply to their overall grand scheme, which is this wonderful thing up here. I will show you really quickly. So there's a purified one, that right here, and that would be what the humans look like after they've been experimented on. And then they're dropped into this cavern, or into this cavernous area or room, where they create this giant mass of flesh. And what it does is it generates power for these Erifu, and it gives them more ability to do more experiments and effects on other creatures. So here's the oracle over here. So for her, I would just convert her to an Erifu elder, or an Erifu priest, or what have you. So there's a harpy over there. So that again could be just a flying Erifu. And then as far as random encounters, for instance, when we go back to the map and we talk about the olive grove, the north, and all of these areas, basically the main beach, the north beach, they have the basic descriptions in here as to what you may encounter when you're there. For instance, here, physicians, and physicians are the cultists. So those are basically the low-level Erifu that are doing the labor for the oracle, that person back here that I showed you briefly. And, you could run into them. You could run into some of those purified ones, they call those humans that have been experimented on, as you see in this picture here, where it's one of the cultists is feeding something to a human that has been brought to here, or has washed up on shore somehow. In Ambien, humans can just pop up out of nowhere because you're being snatched from our Earth and you're being brought over through the veil, which is a portal of some sorts. And you could just show up on Ambien, and these cultists here in this game for my system would be these demented Erifu who are experimenting on them to try to generate more power for them to be to try to hopefully move off of this little island and expand their territory, sort of thing. So that's the basic premise for me, is that this area here is just off of shore of the main continent on the world of Ambien, and they are a specific sect of cultists of Erifu that have twisted and tormented themselves and have become demented, and now they are capturing creatures from all over Ambien, bringing them here to experiment on them, to take their life force essentially and convert it into something for them to feed on, to continue growing their cult to whatever power that could be. We could make that up later on. So yes, I mean, it may not even have to be just humans that are popping up. We could find other denizens from around Ambien, like the Dakru, which is our orcs, or the Nakru, which is our goblins, the Gokru, which is the lizard men, and then we have the Mokru, which are like our trolls, and we have ogre style creatures and stuff like that. And we can go through that in the Swords and Stones guidebook. So that's basically it as far as the basic outline. So I wanted to make a few points ahead of time just to say, well, here's kind of my idea as to how I want to deal with this conversion, what I want to do with it as far as taking it from being an old school Essentials game adventure to something that can be played with Swords and Stones. And to basically show you that Swords and Stones games, sorry for the background noise, my cats are chasing each other. The Swords and Stones guidebook is very simple. It's very easy to transfer over into any other game, and even just bits and pieces of it. If you just prefer, if you want to use your own monster stats or the monster stats that are already included in your game or whatever game you're playing, but you want to use the combat dice, or you want to use the mechanics that we do in Swords and Stones, you can do that too. All right, so let's get into this. I'll move this a little way here. So the first thing we kind of talked about is the basic storyline, and we talked about how this is going to be some Erifu that have been formed their own little cult, and they've demented themselves and twisted their brains, and now they're experimenting on other creatures, this, that, and the other thing. So that basic premise is very easy to follow along. So as you go through this short adventure, it says in here, the island was once a famous place of healing, and a cult of Lethe, the goddess of oblivion, quietly co-opted the temple. So that's our Erifu took over this place, built a temple, and now they're capturing creatures from all over Ambien, bringing them here to convert them to their ways and or use them for either energy, food, or their little ball of power that they're creating. So you have some adventure hooks down here as to maybe why your party shows up here. In Ambien, it could be just like I said, because you're being taken from Earth and you get portaled here, and you have your player characters just show up on one of the beaches. Or you could be on the main continent and come over. Maybe you get a hold of a boat or something like that, or a raft. Maybe it's not that far away from the continent, and you paddle over, or you sail over, and because you heard that humans were being tortured and experimented on and twisted in ways, and you want to come over and rescue them. That could be that too. Here it says you have a missing hero, or some hired agents, which again, the party can be hired. Like say maybe the main Erifu culture you've run into their party, and they're very cooperative with you, and they hire you, or they commandeer you to go to this island to help see if you can't do something about this cult. Unintentional guests. Okay, so that strange currents have brought you here. So again, that could be your characters could just pop into this or land on this island, being portaled over from Earth realm, and that sort of thing. So we go into, again, here's the list of denizens. So these are the local either NPCs or monsters. So patients, these are, excuse me, these are either the humans or monsters that have been brought over. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and move the camera a touch. Sorry, my amateur camera setup. It's just sitting on a pod. So travelers or shipwrecked sailors may be here unwillingly, dressed in gray robes or what have you. So, like these are just basic points. We can color that up as much as we want to as to how we want to do that. So again, my idea is that humans either portaled here or they were commandeered by the main Arafu culture to come over and see if they can clean up the island or figure out what's going on. Physicians. Okay, so these are the cultists. So these are the entry-level cultists. And these ones in our game are going to be entry-level Arafu. And these guys are the ones that assist the captured patients in quote-unquote healing. So what they're doing is they're feeding the captured people or creatures from Ambien. They're feeding them some sort of a potion, which slowly converts them, and they eventually become a purified one. And then that purified one, like I showed you earlier, is back here. Oops, sorry for the bump. Where'd it go? Is one of these wonderful looking creatures here. So basically they become almost like a flesh golem. So they have no real physical attributes, any sort of facial features, physical features, anything at all. They're basically hands, feet, and a blob that looks like a head. So that's what's happening to the creatures that are brought here. The Oracle would be the main baddie, the big bad that you're trying to find to figure out either if you can converse with this person or you can get rid of them to try to break up this cult. The nannies, these are the winged Arafu that are going around Ambien and capturing creatures and bringing them here, or capturing humans. Their favorite I should say, humans, because humans are easier to convert. They're easier to distort than the locals. Lions. So one of the main creatures or animals on this island right now are lions that they've brought here from all over to basically be their guard animals. It says here that one of them is a pure white lion that always accompanies the Oracle. So that could be an extra large lion or some sort of a demented or genetically enhanced lion beast. You have an order of battle here where it says the temple denizens, which is any one of these, who fail morale checks in combat will attempt to flee to Area 16, bringing with them any of the harpies that there to attack the party and warning other staff. So basically you can use that as your morale check with these physicians or Arafu cultists throughout the game, entirely throughout the game. They will flee. You roll your morale check in our game. We roll reaction. It's the same idea. Check to see if they are still engaged in what's going on with you, or if they decide to turn and run, or what have you. Some general notes for the terrain. It's lined with rocky shores, apart from the two beaches, the north and the main beach, where most ships can land. The interior consists of scrubby grasses with groves of holm oak, wild olive, and mastic, lousy with rabbits, and buzzing with cicadas. Okay, so we got lots of bugs, cicadas, so that could be another monster option as well. Something to think about with cicadas. You could have them also being genetically altered by the physicians, by the cultists. So they could possibly swarm you, or they could use them to attack you, or what have you. They could just be random. It's talking about docked ships. Should the party linger on around overnight on the island, a group of 3 of the nannies, or the harpies, carrying oil and burning torches will fly onto the ships to try to burn them. So that's an option too if you're using ships. So here you have some area descriptions. So you got the main beach and you got the north beach. So the main beach talks about that it's shimmering white sand, sun-bleached tents that are set up by the physicians or the cultists, where people that are landing on the beach or show up on the beach that's where they capture and take them to. Here is the nectar that I talked about. This is the potion that they use to try to take control of your body, or the creature's body, or the human's bodies, and eventually it will genetically convert them and distort them. The North Beach, again, more physicians that could be hanging around up there, and anything else that you want to throw in. Like, I mean, the beach could be abandoned when you show up, and you just run into, maybe a few genetically altered monsters like the cicadas or giant crabs or anything like that, because it's on an island, so you got a lot of options there. Here's some more rumors. You could run into some NPCs, which could tell you some quick notes like, don't look at the nannies, they're Medusas. So the nannies, again, those are the harpies. So those could be Arafu that if you look at them, they'll turn you to stone, or they'll just, you or get instantly paralyzed. So that way they can take you back and genetically alter you. And here we talk about the temple, the Golden Asclepion. I don't know if that's pronounced correctly, but it's a brilliant temple covered in gold leaf, tallest tower visible from a great distance. Its main entrance is flanked by 2 towers. The structure extends from the base of a granite cliffside and appears to continue underground into the cliff. So this is one of the entrances. Like, if you go back to the main map, you'll see that it's kind of built into a mountainside. Let's see if we can zoom in on that a little bit. And turn the camera. Sorry for the lousy camera work here. So you can kind of see that there, that it is kind of built into the countryside, into the mountainside, and then over here from one of the beaches, you can access it through that hillside through tunnels. Okay, so we'll zoom back out. So that's a brief rundown of the temple. Here is the floor plan. And again, it has random happenings, of course, down at the bottom here. You got random encounters that could happen. General notes about the entrances and exits that you can actually gain access in a couple of different areas. General construction, what it's made of: slabs of white stone, 15-foot ceilings, wooden doors. There's depictions of gods, wars, and healers. So in Swords and Stones, that would be depictions of the Arafu and their culture, or possibly just the cultists making stuff up. Lightning by day, areas 4 and 12. So if we go over here, so we have area 12, which is right there, which is an open courtyard, and area 4. And area 16, which is over here, which is an open courtyard in a tower area, or any of the windows or other openings. By night, they are particularly lit by oil lamps set near door frames. Lighting, not lightning, lit by oil lamps set near door frames. And all other areas are lit with oil lamps and or unlit. So torches are a big deal in Swords and Stones. Very similar to Shadowdark. We run torch life basically as live session time. So a torch will last an hour. So if we play a session for an hour, your torch lasts an hour, and then go from there. And then you have your interior descriptions, you have your main rooms, and again, as far as your NPC or monster stats, those I just ignore because I'm just going to use my own level per DC with regards to monsters and NPCs. So basically, I would just go through this and treat it like any other dungeon, even though it is a temple, half above ground, half underground. And then you get to this wonderful little place, the Perfection's Final Form. So in a vaulted mausoleum, basically down near the crypt, almost fully occupied by a 12-foot diameter skin-slick orb of moistened patchwork sunburnt flesh that hovers a foot off the ground. Boy, does that sound awesome. 10 purified ones, or these zombie-like converted creatures, whether they're human or non, struggle to mash their way or mush their way into the orb and join all the others, which it is composed of. So what this thing does, you can read through this to see if it gives you some hints, but or make it up. For me, I'm just going to say that basically is absorbing all these purified ones to create power for the cultists, for the main cultist here, the Oracle, to become like a giant lich, powerful magical creature of some sort. So it says here, when you attack the orb, you can attain a painful high-pitched hum, and you must save versus spell or lose one round wincing in pain. So that's cool. So with our system here, you'd basically roll on your Constitution to see if you make your saving throw as per your DC for that level. So at level 1, you need a 10 or better. So if you get too close to it, that high-pitched hum hits your head and it starts ringing in your ears, and you roll on your DC and you add your Constitution modifier to see if you survive that. And if you don't, then you lose a round by wincing in pain. And I would actually roll damage on that too. Destroying the orb. If you destroy the orb, all of the quote-unquote physicians or cultists flee to the beach, and all of the purified ones, these zombified creatures, die. Each of the nanny or the harpy or flying Arafu has a 2 in 6 chance of fleeing the island because they can fly. The cultists, the patients, those that haven't been quite converted over to this yet, but are basically have drank the potion and are under their control, will recover in a day. And everybody else is unaffected. So that's the main objective, is to get rid of this orb, get rid of the main Arafu Oracle cultists, and help the whatever remaining creatures that have not yet been converted over into one of these purified ones. And then, you can help them make their way off the island, or you could just allow them to figure it out. So, yeah, so that's basically it. Pretty straightforward. So now let's do an example of how I would convert or do up my own room description. So, for instance, let's see here. We're going to adjust this. And we'll zoom in a little bit. Oops, get my fingers out of the way. There we go. Let's go down to the bottom one, easier to see. Easier for me to reach as well. All right, so in Swords and Stones, I have a dungeon room description sheet, whereas, so if you decide to design your own dungeons and or convert one, like I'm doing with this temple, we can go through and we can build up what is a possibility of what they can find. So there are room descriptions in here. So let's go to the main one. Go to the very first one, which is the entrance, okay? So now it says for the entrance, where are we? Main sanctuary and entrance. And there, okay, sorry. Again, I apologize for the lousy camera work. I'm just running this off my phone. So it says a grand marble arch flanked by doors, by Doric columns, immense marble doors carved with blissful sunbathers, or in this case it would be sunburnt people, stand open to the beach. Possible encounter is one of the nannies, which is a harpy, huddling nearby. And it says only gray-robed patients are admitted, so they can just walk in freely. The nanny attempts to charm any intruders into returning to the beach, and it will attack them if it's unsuccessful. So that's pretty simple. So based off of that, I mean, you could run that straight off the book, or we can go in here. So one of the things that I like to do for my dungeons is to flesh out things like the smell and that sort of thing. So we can go into our guide. As I zoom out a little bit and tip the camera up. And we can go to dungeon descriptions here. And we can do some rolls. So So in this area here for dungeon description, sorry for the bump again. Boy, this is just going to be wonderful, I tell you. Let's just pull this out so we can do that. Okay. So in here, I'm just going to move this out of the way. Under dungeon descriptions. Okay. Let's zoom in a little bit. So we have the smell table. We have the air quality. We have room descriptions. Okay, we have a nice D100 for room descriptions. And over here we have random gear. We have several tables to roll on for random gear. We have a weapons table. And we have an ambite table. So when we go back to our sheet, and as you can see, we go by smell, air, description, gear. Okay, so for the smell, we're going to roll percentile. And we're going to see what we're at. So it says 25. All right. So in our book, under the smell table, 25 is dank or moldy. Okay. So when the party or persons enter or access or can come up to the room, they will encounter this type of a smell. And it just adds a little ambiance to, you walk up to a door and here's the room, okay? So as they're approaching the room, they can pick up this odor, okay? And then we have the air quality. So the air quality, we roll, whoops, jeez. Yes, I know this is going to be a lot of complaints about bumps, but that's okay. And we have 97. So 97 under my air quality table is smoky. So it's a little bit of a smoky air, or it could be just thick air of some sort, okay? And then we move on to the random gear weapons. Again, you can go back to the book, and we can look at the book, and it doesn't give us much, right? It just says who might be there and what it is for the entrance, okay? And the entrance being it's an open area. If I can get this to, actually, there we go. Entrance being here in area number 4. Okay, so that is the main entrance. Okay, so that's kind of where we're entering into. So we're basically just describing this area. So that area smells moldy and dank, which kind of makes sense. It's on an island. It's wet. Smoky, so maybe there's somebody burning incense close by, or maybe there's a fire being burnt on the other side of the door, or a campfire or something like that, or a fireplace, who knows. And then description. So there might be things laying around from other people that have attempted to come in, and we're going to find out if they are. So on the random gear, so you roll a d6 to choose which table to roll on, and then you roll a d20 for the actual items. Okay. All right. So there's a 6 and a 20. Move those out of the way. And we got table 6, and we got item 6. Table 6 and item 6. Okay, so table 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is actually is weapons. Okay. And weapon number 6 is a battle hammer. So we'll go down here. Battle hammer. Just like that. And then we'll keep going because we still want to figure out the description. So room description. So we're going to go, I kind of goofed up. I moved right over to the gear. So let's go back to our percentile dice and we'll roll on the room description. And we got 42. So 42 means it's kind of a dung. So you find possibly piles of dung around the entrance. So you never know what could have been wandering around there. It could be the lions might be leaving piles of crap everywhere. Okay, and basically on my descriptions, you roll 3 times to give them 3 things to think about. So 84. 84 is a pile of small stones. Now that's a good one. So we'll go here. We'll go pile of stones. So a pile of stones. Now that's very pertinent to this game because it's called Swords and Stones. And the magic in this game is through magical stones. So you have red magical stones, which are for using spells. We have blue magical stones, which are used for healing. And then we have a few other random ones that give you special abilities. There's a green one for tracking. There's a purple one that does all kinds of random stuff. There's a white stone of possession. There's all kinds of cool things. So again, so you find this pile of stones. So if the characters decide to search that pile, then you can roll on a D6. If they get a 1, they find something. And if it's a 1, then it's one of the stones. And you look on the stone table and you figure out which one it is. All right, and third option for the room description is 55. And 55 is guano. Ooh, so there are bats close by. Guano. My spelling and my writing is terrible, but hey, such is life. So there are bats close by. If there's guano, there are bats. So that could be another option for creatures that could possibly attack or just hassle your party. Okay, so back to gear. Now we rolled once already and we got a battle hammer, so I put that under the weapons. So again, gear is a D6 and a D20. And we're going to roll 3 times, see if we can find 3 items. So table 4, item number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Item number 8 is foot spikes, some caltrops. All right, so we'll just put that in here. Foot spikes. So they found some foot spikes, and you can roll a D4 or a D6 to figure out how many, entirely up to you. Okay, and then the next item is table 1, 14. So we have some armor. We have a set of leather armor. So in here, leather armor. There we go. And next one, table, oh, that's the exact same roll. Look at that. Let's try that again. 1 and 6. And now I got the same thing because I have these condensed numbers up here. So I'm going to keep rolling. Table 1 again. We got 8. Again, it's the same thing. Holy moly. Come on. There we go. Table 2. Either a helmet or a shield. And we got 19, so we have a shield. Okay. So that kind of makes sense because we have armor, we have a shield, and we have a weapon and some foot spikes. So that's something laying around for possibly an adventurer or a creature from somewhere on Ambien that got brought here and maybe put up a bit of a struggle outside the gate or just showed up on its own outside the main entrance there and lost its life and left its gear behind. All right, ambite. So that is the local gemstone. Ambite is a purple gemstone on Ambien that can be converted into gold. Now, we don't use gold for money. Gold on Ambien is basically used to create things. Again, you know, jewelry, weapons, or just decorations like goblets and stuff like that, like you would find in a normal D&D kind of area, but no coins. We're not using it as monetary value. It's used as trade value. Now, because the locals cannot convert ambite themselves, so none of the local or indigenous creatures can convert ambite into gold. They only discovered this happened when humans started showing up. And it's not every single human that can do it either. So when you find ambite, first you find out how much is there. And if one of your party decides to pick it up, then you roll on the DC and you roll under your, I believe it's your intelligence, and to see if it will convert. And if you roll successfully on your intelligence modifier and your DC, then it will change into gold. And then that becomes something that is sought after even more so than just the ambite by the local indigenous creatures. They do use ambite and they can carve it into things like weapons and etc. And they can make jewelry out of it and they use it for trade. But again, there's no real monetary system here. So for ambite, we just take a D4. And let's see how many chunks are there. So I got a 2. So we got 3 nuggets. And the nugget is basically 10 experience points. So 3 nuggets. So those 3 nuggets can be converted into 3 chunks of gold. And I give out 1 XP per chunk. So that's XP equals 3. Yeah. Spell stones. All right. So again, we have the pile of stones there, but they could also see random stones because it is a beach. So when we're rolling on spell stones, again, we roll a d4 because we don't want to give out too many too quickly. 4 would be the max. So just 1. Okay. So there's a 1 there for a single spell stone. And what about heal stones? 2 of them. 2 heal stones. So if the party or somebody in the party decides to search the area, roll a d6. On a 1 or a 6, they find something. If it's a 1, they'll find some stones. If it's a 6, then they'll find the random gear. Pretty simple. Monsters. Now, we've already got that broken down for the area. Whereas on the main beach and on the north beach, there are creatures there. And then the entrance has a nanny, which is the Arafu harpy. And you could possibly have some already converted creatures or humans which have been fed the potion and are now under control, so kind of like zombie-like. So here, because we already have a creature, so here I would put how many. And again, just roll a d4. We got 1, okay, which is already says in the book there's 1. Now for traps. So we go into our dungeon description book again, and here we have a D100 list for traps. So I will take the percentile dice and roll. 83. Okay, so 83 is a scything blade. All right, so we'll put that under here. Oops. Scything blade. So this could be something that could be triggered by either the harpy that is there, the Arafu harpy that is guarding the entrance, or it could be something that is set up and accidentally triggered by the party or a member of the party. So searching for traps is important. Giving off hints that, hey, it looks like something's kind of fishy going on here. You could do a little foreshadowing or give off hints so that they don't just walk into something and die, especially in the Swords and Stones, because entry-level characters, first-level characters, got 10 hit points. You know, a Scything Blade whacks you roll a d6, you could lose, 60% of your hit points in one smack. So you may not want to kill them off too quickly. But so that's kind of how I would go through each of the rooms in this area description breakdown for the interior areas and convert them over to Swords and Stones style of descriptions. And again, most of this has a lot of detail, or at least enough detail that you may not have to do too much. But for me, because I want to keep my head wrapped around my own system, I would just convert it over to this, write it down in my dungeon descriptions, fill up a page or 3 or 4 of all the rooms, because there's quite a few, and have it as my own reference. And that way I can read it off of my reference and just use the original adventure pages as, just kind of a guideline to keep me going along the way. Okay. All right, so let me grab a character sheet, and we'll go through rolling up a character, and then we will, I'll go through how I track those characters, and go from there. Be right back. All right, we're back. Grab a character sheet. Actually, I grabbed 2 different ones. So this is our main character sheet for Swords and Stones. A very typical looking style character sheet. We got your player's name, your character's name. You have your main attributes: strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, and charisma. I got a little scroll underneath each one of them, which gives you a brief rundown on what you could use those for. Again, it's up to the game host to decide if that's specifically what they want to use that for. And then we have our armor class section with the armor type and a shield modifier. So armor class in our game is another modifier because we rolled 2 d20s for combat. One is the attacker, one is the defender. So I'll give you a quick rundown. Basically, you roll initiative or advantage, however you want to describe it. 1 to 3, the character gets to, the PC gets to attack. Okay. 4 to 6, the PC's on defense. So if the PC rolls a 5, for instance, okay, I'm on the defense. So now we have 2d20s. I've only got one with me, but we're going to roll them. And what that means is with 2d20s, you have one for the attacker, one for the defender. So the PC is on the defense. So I usually have 2 different colored ones. I have a red and a blue one. The blue one would be for the characters, PCs. And you roll them both at the same time. So if I'm a level 1, I need a 10 or better to make my DC, which means I can defend myself somewhat. Not completely take no hit points, but possibly. So I rolled a 17, so that means I defended myself. And now, let's say I had rolled a 6, and my armor class was a 7. Okay, so if I rolled a 6, I need a 10 to defend myself. So I take that 6 and add it to my armor class, and that gives me 11. Armor class is generated by adding your Constitution modifier to your armor type modifier and your shield or helmet modifier. Later on, you can have both. So basically, the way I treat Constitution is that's how much damage or ability to avoid damage your body can take. And armor and your shield and helmet are additional things added onto your Constitution to help your body withstand damage. Okay? So we add that. So let's say your armor type was leather, you'd have a +2. And let's say your Constitution was a 4. And let's say your shield modifier, you chose a shield instead of a helmet, and that's a +1. So my armor class would be 7. 4 + 2 + 1. So my armor class is 7. So again, 6 and 7 is 11. And I'm a level 1 character. I need a 10. That means I successfully defended myself. So let's say the monster rolled, and they got... Now the monster needs a 13 or better, and let's say they rolled a 14. So because he rolled the d20s both at the same time. So the attacker and defender go at the same time. So it's very chaotic. And it's very more realistic, because in a real fight, it's not I go, you go, right? In a real fight, it's you're just going, you're flailing. And you could either be hitting them, or you could be trying to block from being hit. So the monster got a 14, so that means they made their attack DC. So then we roll damage. At level 1, monsters roll 1d6. Now, because I made my defense, I'm going to deduct 1 point off of whatever they roll. So they roll a 4. So instead of taking 4 points of damage, I only take 3. So that's kind of how the armor class works. At higher levels, there's more d6s, like basically 4, there's 2d6. And at 7, there's 3d6 for monsters for damage. And again, yes, your character's hit points go up and your DC goes up. So it all kind of levels out a little bit as far as balance as to how hard it is to be hit or to hit. So it works the same way for a character. So if a character rolls and they get a 2, which is 1 to 3, you're on the attack, then you roll a 2d20s. So my character rolls an 8, and I'm using a handheld weapon, so I would add my strength modifier. So let's say my strength modifier was a 3. So 8 + 3 is 11. So I just made it over my DC. Now, a sword is a D8 for damage. So characters use weapon die for damage. The monsters, NPCs, use just D6s. So I got 2 points of damage I inflicted onto the creature. Now, it doesn't sound like much, but depending on where the creature's at, maybe they're only down to 3 hit points or something like that because you've been fighting for a while. So that could be painful. Having said that, they roll their defense. Now, I rolled a 2, which means they failed their defense. They need a 13. So they take all of the damage that I've rolled. But let's say they made 14, like we did previously. So they roll their DC to defend themselves, and they get a 14. Now, there's no armor class modifier. You can choose to do that for monsters if you want to, but I just base it on the DC. So I rolled a 14. The monster rolled a 14 defense, so that means they were successful. So instead of 2 hit points, they only take 1, so not a very bad hit. So that can kind of draw out combat a little bit longer, but for the most part, it goes quick because then you roll your initiative again. Oh, good, I get to attack again. Okay, we roll our 2d20s. Oh, good, I made my attack. Okay, here's my damage, 2 points of damage. Here's the defense by the monster, a natural 1. So they royally failed. So not only do they get that 2 points of damage, but I roll an additional d6. there's 4 more points of damage. So my cut not only cut, but it gashed them open, and that could kill them right there. Because level 1 monsters only have 12 hit points. So within 3 turns, either you or the monster could be dead. So again, very dangerous game, especially if you're rolling critical fails. If a character rolls a critical fail, a 1, not only do you not successfully hit a monster, you have to roll a d4 for self-inflicted damage. So you could kill yourself by accident. Not the greatest. Anyways, so our character sheet, if we break down again, moving down, we got our current hit points, your skill level, which we are level 1, bump, and max hit points of level 1 is 10. Current hit points, if we're just starting, would be 10. Experience points, we start everybody at 1,000. 1, 2, 3. And basically, every time you add 1,000 hit points, you go up a level. So I'm at 1,000 for level 1. So once I hit 2,000, I'm at level 2, 3 for level 3, etc. Giving out experience points is done through finding treasure or ambite, converting that ambite to gold if you try, defeating monsters, finding spell stones and using spell stones, so you get XP. I give out XP for finding them as well as using them. Same for healing stones, you give out XP for finding them as well as using them, and any other of the magic stones. Solving puzzles, solving traps, successfully completing a task. It's really up to the game host how you want to do that kind of stuff. And I even give out XP for good gameplay, for people that are being creative, as well as being fun, interacting with their fellow game players, not being a jerk. That's a big deal for me. Have fun, play within the game, and be a team player. Try to make the game fun and creative. Okay, so moving on. Here's where we list your weapons and you put down your damage. So a sword would be 1d8 or 1 to 8, however you want to write it. Here's a brief breakdown of your character traits if you want to do that. We also have what's called a character journal, which has not only this, but it's about 5 pages. It's got this on the back of that page. It has background history. It has a little square, empty blank square where you can draw in a character sketch, a little more detail for the character's traits like scars and sort of thing like that. So then you have your ambite. You can track how much ambite and how many spell stones and heal stones that you track. Now, this is very limited in the player's journal, the character journal. It has a full page where you can list your spell stones and heal stones and whatever other stones you find. I start every character out with a basic backpack. So they have an iron box, they have a map case and utensils, 3 flasks of oil, 20 feet of rope, 3 large sacks, 12 door spikes. Going back onto the 3 large sacks. If they put stuff into those sacks, I don't consider that a slot filled. Door spikes, 4 torches, so you want to track how many spikes they use, and torches especially. Again, it's 1 hour per torch, and that's game time. Tinderbox and flint for lighting those torches, and whatever else, campfires, etc., and a couple blankets. And then I have another 11 slots for them to fill in. They find stuff along the way. And this is just handheld stuff. This is not including, we come across some horses, or a horse and buggy, or a cart, or whatever, that's kind of stuff that's party combined, because it has to be used by the entire party. It's not something that you can actually carry on your person. Down at the bottom here, advanced skills. So again, at levels 4, 6, 8, and 10, there's a section in the game guide where you can pick a specialty skill. For instance, one of the more popular ones at level 4 is memorizing spells. So the spell skill, which allows you 4 spells a day to memorize, and you can use them up to twice a day with a couple hours in between. Typically, at the first levels, from levels 1 to 3, once you use a spell stone, the stone goes gray and you throw it away. It's done. It's used. Magic is not innate. Magic is not memorized. It's not a spell book, okay? It is in this magical stone. You have to concentrate on it to get it to work, and then you have to concentrate on it to get it to identify it, and then concentrate on it to get it to work. And once it's been used, it's done. It's gone. Same with the heal stones. Once they're used, they turn gray and you throw them away. They're just a rock. So it's very important that the party searches for these stones to help them along the way and use magic against the local beings, the creatures. But when you hit level 4 and you choose the spell option, there's also a heal stone option. Then you can memorize up to 4 stones a day. So let's say you've got 8 stones. You can choose 4. Now you have to do this at the beginning of your game session and let the game host understand or know which ones you're choosing, which ones you're listing. And those are the ones that you will use that day. The next game session or the next game day, you can use the same ones if you want, or you can change them, but you got to change them right at the beginning of the session or the beginning of the day. And once they're used for the day, which you can use them twice, then they just go back and, then they just have to wait till the next day, the next game day, or the next game session. So you get to keep your stones. You don't just chuck them. So that's a cool option at levels 4. Level 6, you can use up to 6 stones. Level 8, you can use 8. And level 10, you can have up to 10. So it just goes up every couple levels to just make it more fun, to be able to use more magic and that sort of thing. And the same with the heal stones. So heal stones, it's the same option. You can have up to 4. You can use your heal stone up to 4 times a day with a couple hours in between. So if you got 4 heal stones, you got options to heal yourself and other people a couple times per day and help out the party and bring back your hit points so you're not dying off right away. Other options are at level 4 are like ambidextrous, and we can use 2 weapons at once. Multiplicity, where you can fire multiple arrows if you're using a bow and arrow, range weapon, throw multiple spears, what have you, throw multiple knives. So there's a lot of cool things like that in the guide. So you have to look through the guide under the special abilities section to see those. So it just adds a little more depth to characters as they're going up in levels. Again, the game is fairly simple. Characters are just human. There's no specialty skills to start with because you're coming from Earthrealm and you're coming from any time in history in Earthrealm. You might have been a Roman warrior in your time in Earthrealm, and when you come to Ambien, you remember your history, but everybody starts on an equal playing field. So everybody has the equal amount of skill and the equal amount of options to either be successful or fail. So you don't, it's up to the game host. If you want to give people bonuses or additional skills right out the gate because of where they came from on Earth, yeah, go for it. I don't. I want everybody to be equal, everybody to have an equal chance and equal opportunity to both be successful or fail. All right. So again, like I said, we have on our itch page, we have the game journal or player journal that you can download, which has a lot more options for making notes. It's also got note pages, tracking your magic stones and your items. You can have magic items as well thrown into the game as well. Another type of sheet that I have is also this one. It's a side-facing character sheet, and it's very simple. No fancy decorations other than our Swords and Stones logo. Over here, you can track how many spell stones you have, whether they're unidentified or identified ones. You can track in there, so a little bit more options. And then you have your inventory slots and then all your basic stuff like your weapons and your stats. And here I've even listed your DC per level. So at level 1, you're at 10, 11, 3 and 4, 12, 5 and 6, 13, 7 and 8, and 14, 9 and 10. So to explain that a little bit, why does the DC get harder as you go up? Well, because the creatures and the tasks that you face should become harder as well. Monsters specifically, they're going to go up in hit points, okay? And which means they're most likely going up in skill. Maybe they have more experience, or they're larger, or they have a deadlier weapons, whether it's a bite or a claw or spit acid or what have you. So that makes it a little more difficult. Maybe their hide is scaly or something like that. So that makes it, I just wanted to generalize it so that at the higher levels, the monsters are harder to kill, okay? But you are as well. So even though your DC is going up like this, so for instance, levels 5 and 6, your DC is 12. Monsters' DC to be able to hit you is 14. So it's also a lot harder for them. So again, that's my little touch on game balance. Nothing too fancy. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of how we do the characters. When you roll up your characters, roll up your PCs. Now, for the game hosts themselves, and you want to track your players in your game, I have this in-game session PC tracker. Okay, So you put your character's name or your player's name here. Here's their level. So if it's level 1, they have a DC of 10. Whoops. They have 10 hit points. Armor class based off of their sheet, which is their constitution plus their type of armor plus either a shield or a helmet. And later on, if they accumulate a helmet or a shield, you add that in. And their amount of current hit point or current experience points, because you want to be able to, I'm going to give out 25 experience points because you identified this spellstone and you used it successfully. Number of torches that they have, it's a good thing to track because you don't want players fudging that on you. Their rations, I start players, I don't think I have that in the actual game guide, but I give players 2 weeks rations to start with. How many heal stones they have, you don't need a lot of detail because heal stones are just quantity. And whether or not they have ambite. Whether or not they have a shield or a helmet, which modifies their armor class. The type of armor that they're wearing, again, that's their modifier. What their weapons are, and you can write in your damage if you want. And then a list of spells. So it's good to have your spell stones listed here, especially if they're, like, say they're level 4, because then they'll have 4 spells that they'll have picked up, so you can kind of put a little star beside the ones that are active. That one, this one, and this one, or what have you. And that helps the game host understand that, okay, well, you've got these 4 spell stones memorized for today. So if they choose a different one, you could say, no, sorry, you don't have that one memorized for today. Because they might have forgotten, or maybe they're trying to fudge. Okay, so I have up to 3 characters that you can track on one of these sheets. And again, that can be downloaded from my itch.io page. And again, it's something easy for in anybody else as a generic term, game master, dungeon master. We use game host to track what the players are, their stats, just a quick stats. Okay, so getting back to the game, to the adventure itself. Again, as far as converting it over to a Swords and Stones adventure, really quite easy. Okay, because I don't do major stats for monsters, the conversion for monsters is very simple. If your players are level 1 players, then you convert the monsters to level 1. In here, this is a level 3 Temple Incursion adventure. So start your players at level 3. Why not? Give them 3,000 experience points. Give them the number of hit points they need for level 3. So basically, hit points goes up by 1d6 every level, both for humans and for players and for monsters. So at level 1, it's 10. At level 2, it's 16. Level 3, it's 22 hit points. That's not bad. For monsters, it's slightly more. Level 1, it's 2 less. So at level 1, you have 8. Level 2, you have 14. And at level 3, you have 20. Okay, so slightly less hit points for monsters. That just gives, again, it's my little bit of a touch of game balance to help player characters survive a little longer, give them a slight advantage. Not like 5e where, you have death saves and basically have a reset button every time you get near or beyond death. In this game, if you hit 0 hit points, you're unconscious. If you even go below 0 by -1, you're dead. For monsters, as soon as they hit 0, they're done. As far as the dice mechanics, for critical rolls, for player characters, you roll a d20, that monster's dead, no matter what. If a monster rolls a d20, you take full damage, whatever their damage is. If it's level 1, it's 1d6, it's 6 hit points. If it's level, 4, then you take 12 hit points. You could die instantly, so it's dangerous. Critical fail. If your character rolls a 1, okay, not only do they not do any damage, they do self-inflicted damage, and the monster gets the attack on the next turn automatically. If the monster rolls a critical fail, a 1, they take full damage of whatever you're doing. So if you are using, like, say, a battle axe, it's 1 to 10. So they take 10 points of damage. That could kill them right there. And that's pretty much it. As far as the dice mechanics are very simple. We use 2d20s for combat dice. a defense, and an attack. And we roll a d6 every turn to determine whether you get to attack or defend. And that makes it chaotic. If you're level 1, you have 10 hit points. You come up against a Nakru, which is a goblin in our system. You decide, okay, I'm going to fight this goblin, this Nakru. You roll your d6. Do I get to attack it or am I defending? Okay. You might want to check reaction initially. You can also go by situational advantage. If you walk into a room and you surprise it, you get the advantage. I'll give you an attack. If you walk into a room and you don't see it and it surprises you, I'll give the monster the attack. So situational advantage is a huge deal as well. But basically we roll a d6. So let's, you roll your d6 on the first turn, you're attacking. You rolled a 1, 2, or a 3. Cool. I'm happy about that. I'm pumped. The monster and you roll your d20s. They failed their DC. They need an 11, they need a 12, and you need a 10. You got a 14. They got a 6. So you get to roll your damage. They don't have any deductions from your damage roll. So they take whatever damage you roll. So you're feeling pretty confident. Roll that d6 again. Yeah, I'm going to continue fighting. And all of a sudden you roll a 4. Oh, crap. I'm on the defense. I have to try to defend or parry, hopefully take no damage. So you roll the 2 d20s. The monster rolls a 14. So they made their attack. You roll your defense. You roll a 4. Oh, crap. What's my armor class? My armor class is a 4. I only got 8. So that means you failed your defense. You did not parry that attack. So you take whatever damage they roll. So they roll a d6. If they roll a 6, then you take 6 points of damage. And if you've already been playing for a little while, say you're down to 4, look at that. You're dead after 2 turns. Poof, done. So it stimulates characters to think more than just fight. Okay? Yes, you're going to have combat. Absolutely. Combat's one of my favorite things in any of these games. But I want them to think. I want them to be creative thinkers. I want them to even be diplomatic. I had one game where characters decided to try to talk to some wild, intelligent tigers. It worked. They convinced them for one turn not to attack them. The next turn, not so much. But it was a good choice. Try to be inventive. Try to be creative. Don't necessarily just pull your sword and say, okay, let's give her. Murder hobos die quickly in this game. Very, very quickly. So you're better off not taking that risk. And again, be creative as far as how you play your game. As far as role playing, I'm not really too concerned about you doing voices and playing in character. I'm more concerned about you role playing your character sheet as far as how you think your character would act and react and do things. If you want to do voices, cool. That's all good too. So back to converting the game. Yes, very, very simple. I can basically run it right out of the book here and just make notes, just some point-by-point notes for rooms as far as monsters and as far as room descriptions and that sort of thing, and doing combat. Very, very simple. You could call this a one-shot if you want. I like to call them short adventures as per campaigns. I call them long adventures or full adventures. And there you go. I have an adventure. That could be something you drop into your current campaign. And I do that all the time. I have my main campaign going and I pull modules. I've got hundreds of modules sitting on my shelf. And I'm like, okay, they're wandering off. They're not going where I thought they were going. They're going to wander off into this part of the jungle. What do I want to have waiting for them? Well, I'll just grab a module and I'll look in there and I'll either use part of the hooks from that module, or I might just use a map out of that module. I might just use some creatures out of that module or something like that. Or maybe it's like this, where it's a really small adventure, a short adventure, and then I'll use that whole thing and we'll go from there. So very flexible system that I have. And hopefully once you play it and you see that it actually moves quickly as far as combat is concerned. It's wide open for creativity because I've left the game guide very simple to follow, and there's very, very little detail as far as what you have to do. I'm not a rules lawyer. You can modify any of the rules in here as per your table that you want. For instance, monster stats. If you want to go character stats versus monster stats, do it. Okay? I go character stats versus monsters DC and level, and that just makes it quicker and easier because then I don't have to think as hard because I'm getting old. Anyways, thanks very much, gang. Hopefully this is a little bit informative as to how I convert an adventure over from, in this case, old school essentials to my game, which is Swords and Stones, and play the way we want to play at our table, and which is what everybody should be doing. Play your game, have fun, really enjoy it. Be nice, be kind, like, subscribe, leave a comment, be nice. If you're not, then don't bother. But I appreciate you dropping by. I appreciate everybody that's popped by and watched my humble little, very amateur videos about games and this, that, and the other thing. So thanks again. Have a great day, and Happy New Year's if I don't talk to you before then. Ciao.